Good morning. This is Mike, and this is the Palooka Watch channel. This is my Seiko watch collection. I've been thinking about doing this for a while. I just figured I'd show this off and tell you which watches these are and why I have them. A little bit about the details and some of the nicknames and all that good stuff. And I guess we will start with this watch here. This is a watch that a pal gave me. We did a trade. I was over his house and he had this listed for sale, and you can see that's pretty beat up. You guys have seen this watch before in other videos I've done, and you can see all the scratches on the lens here and the bezel insert. He has a machine shop and wore this every day to work for a couple years. But this is your Seiko Prospex Turtle. This is a 2017 model, the blue dial, which I believe is more desirable. And it's a large case. It's a 44 millimeter case. It's feels great on. I might as well put this on for you, huh? Didn't even think about that. You guys know I have a 7 5/8 inch wrist. Sometimes it's a little bigger. Love this watch. Very cool. Funny thing, I bought it, I wore it, I started getting into watches, buying more watches. I have not worn it since. It pretty much lives in a tray. So there's that. Now we're going to jump to my current favorite watch, which is what people will call the 55 Fathoms, because the design of this is clearly reminiscent of the Blancpain 50 Fathoms. And it is a 100-meter dive watch. I say that in quotes because it's, 100 meters is not a dive watch. And there's no lume in the bezel insert. But it's got this, gee whiz, I don't know what you would call that. Like an acrylic bezel insert. And this case, it's more reminiscent of the Blancpain dive case. This watch is responsible for me going down the rabbit hole on the history of dive watches and purchasing a whole bunch of, homage 50 Fathoms watches, and just learning. And people mod this watch, and it's just beautiful. And behind the hour hand here, you can see it's the Seiko Shield 5, which is the only one I care about owning. I don't like the new Seiko logo. I like this watch, so I got this very cheap because you can see. Let's just back that out of here. It's something I do with this watch, this camera all the time. I can never seem to get the right. You can see the scratches. I mean, look up there at about 11 o'clock on this domed crystal, which is more like a hard Lex. I'm sure it's an acrylic. So this watch was very inexpensive. I may have gotten this for under $100 because of the damage. But I'll tell you, that blue dial with the black bezel insert is absolutely my favorite. I think that is beautiful to look at. That Seiko blue is incredible. Those I guess you'd call those, what do you call that? So like a spear point hour and minute hand there. The lume is nice on the hands, not great on the indices. There's just a little dab of that at the end of each one. I try to find the made in Japan watches. I just prefer that. There are, the Chinese watches now are making watches similar to this, and they're making like copies of the 62 Mas and all that, and you can get them, like Tandario makes them, with a blue dial and a black bezel insert. It looks great. And I'm probably going to get some of those for these projects I make, because you guys know I make these leather watch cuffs. This is kind of like, it's a combination. It falls between a cuff and a bund. This was an early one. This one happens to be, they're all lined with calfskin, and this one happens to be horse hide here and bison hide here. I bought this version of it because it was so clean. I think I spent around $150 on this watch. And it's practically new. I mean, I don't see any marks on this whatsoever. black on black with the black date wheel, day and date wheel, which is, I wish Seiko and every other watch company would do that more often, where they're matching the date wheels to the dial color. I don't know why they don't do it. I suppose it's a cost thing. I don't know. I'm gonna put this one on. This is on a black leather rally strap. It came on a band with no extra links, and the band was too small for me. And I really like this. I'll just put it on a loose hole for now. I love the look of this band here. Again, 7 5/8 inch wrist. I think that looks super tough. This lives in a box. I almost never wear this. I would wear this if I was going to get dressed up and go out somewhere, but I don't even own anything that nice anymore. But it's very cool. I bought it as a backup. I still look for these watches. This particular, I forget what the numbers on are. All these, you'll have to excuse me on that. I'm into watches. I'm into the making the bands, but I have not gotten to that nerd level yet, to where I can remember all the specification numbers on them. I suppose it's probably on the back. Maybe it's not. But these watches, they look great. They give you 100-meter water resistance, so I guess there's a rubber bushing in here, but it is only a push-pull crown. This watch here is really neat. Now, this is a store-bought Boon. This is one of the ones I bought early on when I wanted to try them out. This is very reminiscent in size and style to what they were wearing back during the World Wars. I mean, you can see the thread is already coming out of this. It's not super well made, but the watch itself is kind of neat. I bought this. I really love this watch, but I don't wear it. I want to wear it more. I just don't want to wreck it. I just think it's kind of special. You can see it's got a gunmetal brush case. If you look at the profile on this, this is what you call the Seiko bottle cap, because it looks like an old school Coke bottle cap. Look at that. It's got drilled lugs. You see how the lugs shoot down off the case there? It's got a day-date complication. This one does have winding, but it doesn't have a screw-in locking crown. Again, another vintage Seiko 5 Sports. There's a mark on the lens you can clearly see right there when the light hits it. That's unfortunate. I did buy it used. It did come with that. But, you know, if you're going to wear your watches, those things are going to happen anyhow. That's why I love finding these deals. I think this is a beautiful watch, man. And it deserves to be worn more often. I need to make one of my bands for this watch. It's really a neat watch. Again, just 100 meters because it does not have a locking screw-down crown. These watches, these 55 fathoms we call them, they don't have winding. It's strictly you have to start moving it to get it going. This watch here, this is the only one out of all my Seikos that I purchased new. It's a Seiko Monster. This was an impulse buy. It was spurred on this. By the way, this came new in the box on a bracelet, which I took off. This band was actually on this watch when I purchased it. Didn't like it, and I wasn't intending on using it. I'm not a big fan of nylon on my body. However, look at the match in color. Like the blue dial, and again, we're getting to what I love, a blue dial with a black bezel insert. And the blue on the band pretty much matches the dial. I mean, pretty spot on. And even that kind of tan yellow color on the strap here, and you can see there's blue and black on the strap. So it's a nice strap. It's got the quick release on there. And if you look at the watch, it seems like there's a bit of an age to the lume in a way. Like it seems like they toned that down from green. Of course, there's like it looks like that's gold to me, like a gold metal around all the indices. And so that gives you a bit of that yellowish color, which matches, to me, in my opinion, it matches that the stripe on that band real well. I think that's a great pairing. Mark from Long Island Watches, I was watching one of his videos when I was in Arizona, and he said that they had discontinued the Seiko Monsters. And I thought, well, let me look for one and just have it. Because the original Seiko Monsters were called that because the indices were triangles all pointed in towards the center. So it looked like a monster's mouth, like teeth. And this doesn't have that. So it's one of those weird things. You get the Monster, you want those teeth indices. However, to me, that's too goofy. I actually prefer the look of this because it has a more classic, acceptable look. This is a full-on real dive watch. You know, Prospex model, 200 meter, great loom at the pip. Nice rung pip there. Nice watch. Again, I don't really wear this too often. I wear this once in a while when I go out and I want to show off a bit. Not that this is a super expensive watch. Again, I bought it new, but I got a deal on it. And I think I'm sure I spent under $300 on this watch. I don't know what they go for now new, but I'm sure it's more than that. What should I show you next? Let's jump to this. This is a neat watch. I bought a watch from a guy on eBay, and we started talking, and he said he had more watches, and a guy owed him money, and so gave him a bunch of watches. Now, this is not one of those watches. This is a watch that he purchased while he was on duty. He was a pilot in the Air Force for something like 25 years, and he was on Guam when he got this around 2000. If you look, I don't know if I can slide this out. Yes, I can. I made this band. This is a horsehide Zulu strap. And you can see that this one here is a Movement Singapore. You know what I like about this? See all the zeros? If you were to play Liar's Poker like you do with money, with currency, I think I'd be winning a lot of watches with this serial number right there. All those zeros. So I got this watch. It worked fine. I thought it did. I brought it to my watch guy, and I had realized after bringing it over there that this thing needed to be tuned up a little bit. There was a lot of crud underneath the glass. So I took this apart, took the movement out, cleaned it up nicely, and you can see that pip is hollow. I think that that material had fallen apart and was dust all on the inside of this. We think that it's possible that these hands could have been replaced. It's kind of hard for me to see that, but my watch guy tells me that that's what he believes. You can see the dial is clearly original. Some moisture had gotten into there from condensation, it's unfortunate, but it does denote a vintage watch. But it is, I don't know, man. It's hard for me to, because those hands don't look new to me. Could have been done a long time ago. The metal on the second hand seems to match the metal on the hour and minute hand. Maybe it's possible that somebody refilled the loom on those hands. That's what I'm thinking. Either way, it doesn't matter. I spent $100 on this watch. And this is probably my oldest Seiko. It's not my oldest Seiko. It's the oldest one I would wear because it's a man's watch. The oldest Seiko I own right here is this watch, which wasn't working when I purchased it. This was an eBay purchase. This is a lady diver, much smaller. It's a desirable watch. They go for quite a bit of money if they're in this kind of condition. However, this one wasn't working. I bought it for $40, taking a chance. The guy said it needed a new battery. So I bought this watch. It was in Vietnam, and it was working, but you can see the condition of the dial and the hands and the bezel insert, but it's basically the same watch. So I took a chance on it. With shipping and everything from Vietnam, this was under $50. So for about $90, I ended up with a really nice watch, and this is likely going to go on one of my bands for a woman. There's a bunch of women in my life, including my sister and my niece and friends, and I got a friend's wife, and they love these bands that I'm making with these watches, and they've all asked for one. So this is likely going to go on that. And this is from 1980, this watch. It's a quartz diver, 150 meter water resistance. I believe this is a Japan. Whoops. Again with this focus, not cooperating with me here. Yes, Japan made. So pretty cool. applied indices. It's a neat looking watch. I was just happy to find one that was so clean, and it worked out for me, taking that gamble. What's next? This is a watch that was recently sent to me by a viewer. Thank you, Jim. This is a Seiko Solar. It's black. I mean, I guess you'd call this, in the old days on Schwinn's, they had a frame like this, and you call it black chrome. I don't know that Seiko would call it that, but that's what it looks like to me. But it also has brushed black, so the whole band, and excuse me. This watch, the neat thing about this is that fit. I had to use the micro adjustments. There was no extra links. I got this on the micro adjustment to the biggest hole, and I'm able to get this to work on my wrist here. And I have worn this. I like this watch. And if you're going to collect watches, I kind of thought like, well, you know, having a Solar, I had been thinking about owning a Solar, you know, picking one up. So thanks again, Jim. This makes me happy. And I like the pop of blue. This is not a tone of blue I would typically dig on, but it pops nicely. You know what I mean? Like if it was a cobalt blue with that black, it wouldn't pop so much. So this kind of like, I don't know. I wouldn't call it a robin's egg blue. It's like a royal blue, a pillow blue. I don't know what you would call that, but it was nicely done. The hands are nice on it too. This is the wrong time of day to be doing a watch review because now everything's coming up on noon. You'll see that these are all properly set. I wound them all, set them all to about the same time for the video without thinking. It's a nice sunburst dial there. It's a beautiful watch. Again, just a really cool subscriber sent me this because he knew I'd appreciate it. And, you know, it's funny. This is not a style. Like, if I went to a store or something, I wouldn't be looking for this style of bezel. It's not a favorite. But, man, to me, it works on this watch. This looks like a superhero watch or something. I guess we're going to see something kind of neat right now with these all being set at noon. Here's the land shark. I'll get to that in a second. I wanted to see... Oh, this is it. Here we go. You got that rocket effect with the hands when they hit midnight there. Look at this. Oh, here comes the second hand. Kaboom! That's kind of cool. So you see it gives that rocket. It looks like a rocket right there, doesn't it? The hour hand, the minute hand's right on top of the hour hand at the 12 o'clock. That's pretty neat. Neat effect. What was I grabbing here? So this is your, what they call the land shark, the Seiko land shark. So this has an internal rotating bezel. Got the 5. This is Seiko 5 Sports, again with the shield, which you can also see here. And this turns the inner compass bezel. Keep in mind, you don't need a compass bezel to find north on a watch. You just, now of course at noon, you don't have to do this. It'd be kind of difficult. But you're supposed to put the, look between, you point the hour hand at the sun, and then halfway between the hour hand and noon is south. So right now, we would just point this at the sun, and we would know at noon that's south in the northern hemisphere. So, and again, they did a nice job here where they color matched the date and day window. The dials there to the dial color, which I love. 23 jewel movement. This one does not wind. Okay, so this is another one that you have to pick up and move around, but it does have the day, date, and locking screw down crown, making this 200 meter water resistant. And this is another Japan watch, which I really like. And I guess this is our last one. Last but not least, this is what you call, oh, my tripod is resting upon the... The tripod was right on top of this. I made this band as well. This is what you would call the tortoise. Some people call it the land tortoise, but all tortoises are land animals. So I purchased this used. Again, I think almost all of these are eBay purchases, now that I think about it. This watch in particular is really neat. It's a cushion style, turtle style case, but it's the smallest one when compared to this. Oh, I still have to talk to you about this one. We'll get to that. again, this was used. I picked this one up for about $150, I think, because it was worn, and you can see there's some damage here on the bezel insert right there. It took a pretty good blow right there. The bracelet was in pretty bad shape, and you can see on the case on this, there's some light scratching here and there. This is one of Seiko's best deals. It has a sapphire crystal. It does not have any anti-reflective coating on the lens, and it's designed that way so that when you aim this at the sun, you can use it to signal. I will tell you now that there's no AR coating on the old turtles either, so you could signal with that. What's neat about this watch, and the reason I put it on this style band, is I can pull this out. And on the back side, we have air-to-ground communications. So you can put tree limbs down or fabric or whatever else to make these symbols on the ground and communicate to the air. Like if there's a helicopter up there and you need food or you need help or you don't need it or you can't understand what they're asking you, you can put these symbols down on the ground there and communicate with the air. Again, this has a compass bezel insert, which you don't need to find north. I will say that both of these watches, the thing that comes in handy with the compass bezel, the only purpose for that is if you were trying to orientate where you're going or trying to find out where you're going and you have a map, because then you can set this up right, lay your map down, set this down with north properly oriented to the map, and then you can find out where to go. Otherwise, it's totally useless. I think this watch would actually be better with a dive insert so you can time things, because again, if you know how to find south, which will show you north on your watch, it just doesn't really help you at all. This is your Willard reissue in green. I did buy this used. It came on this aftermarket strap, Jubilee bracelet, and it's a beautiful watch. I got a deal on it, but you can see on the bezel insert, there's a little bit of a dent right there by the 20. That's the only thing you would say is wrong in quotes. Probably the best looking Willard reissue out of all the ones that Seiko came up with. People really love this green. We've got that stoplight secondhand, the domed crystal. This is a beautiful, it's just, the coin edge bezel, everything about this watch is just stellar. It's just a beautiful piece to own. So that's it. I'm not trying to sell any of these watches. I'm not interested in that. I'm intending to keep these, other than this little one here that's going to go on one of my leather creations. But I thought you guys would get a nice, a little bit of a... I've been asked. That's why I decided to do this. People like to see what you have. And these are just the Seikos, And I think Seiko's a great watch. When I was a kid, I had some Pulsars, and that's apparently Pulsar is Seiko as well. And try to get these all together here for a shot that I can screenshot for the cover photo here, huh? Think we could do that? What do you think? Look at this. It's all coming together. You could see the lume popping on these already as this room darkens up a bit. Yeah. I change my watch all the time. You'll see me wearing different watches all the time, and it's fun. I mean, sometimes I'll change my watch a couple times in a day. Just because I want to wear it, because they tickle me. I just like looking at them. And I just will reiterate that this style right here is my favorite. It harkens back to a classic design of the original dive watch. The first one was really the Panerai that came out in the 1930s, but that wasn't available to the public. It was only made for the Italian frogmen. And then, we all know Rolex came out with something. But the Blancpain was the first watch that you could buy at a dive shop. I think it was 1950, around that time period, and had a similar kind of classic look to this. That's what this watch, again, is based upon, for the styling anyhow. And I just love that look. It is my absolute favorite. At any rate, you guys have a great day. I hope you enjoyed this. Not intending to make anybody jealous or anything like that. This is just my thing. And I'm really enjoying these bands that I'm making. I mean, to me, it's very, very comfortable to have on. Pop this one on here for you. It just feels so good. There's something about the leather that hugs your wrist in that way. I'm having a hard time here. There we go. And this one here, it's complementary. I mean, green with the brown, that tone just feels perfect. Yeah, that's it. You guys have a great day. Be good to one another. And come back again.